Guaranteed to get a birdie with this one. 4. Tornei, am I right? The games we are covering today. Welcome to Taylor's Trick Taking Table, by the way. I'm Taylor, and look at that. First place cooking competition, and it just got a hole in one. So today we are covering Tornei and BestShot. BestShot is by Daniel Kennel, and Tornei is by Tatsura Chuo. I am covering these two bad boys because this one is from, I think, a year or so ago. It's from a Tokyo Game Market in the past, and it got a good amount of buzz. It's always tough to find out what games from Tokyo Game Market are going to be super popular because there are a lot. I think if you have certain designers or certain design circles, like Taki Shinzawa or something, then you know that the game's probably going to be interesting or have a really fun mechanism or worth a play at least. But sometimes you just have to hear through the grapevine that a game is good, and that is what this is. This is has some good buzz. So the hook to Tornei is every time you're going to be playing 2 cards to a trick, one face up and then one kind of face down. Face down is going to be kind of a prediction on where in the trick the card that you play face up is going to get. So all the cards will have a suit and a rank, but they'll also say first, second, third, fourth. And so when you play a card, maybe you think it's going to be last. Maybe in a 4-player game you're going to get fourth. You'll play a card that says fourth on it, boop, face down, and then you're going to play a card face up that you think is going to lose. So it's all about prediction. That is kind of the twist hook of that game. And we have Daniel Kennel's BestShot. Look at that, hole in one. The hook to that one is, it is a partner-based team game that you will break up each hand into different tricks. So if you're familiar with golf, you have the drive where you hit the ball really hard to see how far it can go. Then you have the middle where you have like a an iron, I guess. I'm not the most well-versed in golf, but you have a club that does not hit as far, and it's a little bit more accurate at mid-distance. And then once you get onto the green, you're just putting at that point. And so you actually want to be very, very precise. Oh my gosh, I'm losing it. Precise and small. So the hook is, the first trick, you want big numbers. The next trick, the second trick, you want middle numbers. And the third trick, you want small numbers. And then that is a hole. So every 3 tricks, it's a hole. And you'll keep playing holes until you do 3 holes. And then that team will win a point, and you want to win 3 points, I believe. That is the hook. So all middle, high, and low ranks are valid. And I was provided this copy by publisher Little Dog, and both Daniels, who does Little Dog, and Daniel Kennel are pals, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But first, we're going to go to the table, and I'm going to teach you how to play Tornei and BestShot. The deck in Tornei is made up of 4 suits numbered 1 through 14. And an important note is, usually I just put these suits up here in any order, but on each of the suits is a certain placement. So yellow has first, all of the blues have second, green's third, and red's fourth. Here we have the game set up for 4 players. When you're playing with 3 players, you actually play with kind of an NPC dummy hand, which I'm not going to teach. I actually have not played that way. It definitely just not seemed like the best way to play. So that will not be a part of the rules. This is a 4-player teach. In a 4-player game, you're going to shuffle the cards and deal 14 cards to each player, and then everyone is going to get this kind of foldable cardboard mat, which not only tells you how to play the game, it's in Japanese, but also on the front, you're going to be using it to track when your card gets first, second, third, and fourth, and whether it was successful or not. So in Tornei, it is a must-follow game, but when the player leads to the first trick, they're actually going to play 2 cards from their hand. So let's say the first player here is the first winner of the spoon. They are going to pick 2 cards to lead into the trick. So the highest played card of the lead suit is going to win, and if there's any card offsuit, it is this hierarchy here, which I'll show some examples later. But for now, usually people are on suit. So let's say this person is going to do this. They're going to play face up a card and then face down a prediction. I think you can kind of do it either way. You can have the card you play on top or the card you play on bottom. We kind of just do whatever. It's fun to make it look like the horse is being ridden by the knight. But anyway, so the lead suit is yellow and the person in lead has played a 13. So simultaneously, everyone else is going to play any card they want face down. And this does not have to follow the following rules. So this player over here, if they think they're going to get last because they have a 1 in the lead suit, they can put down this 4th card. They think they're going to get 4th, so they're going to put that face down. And they could have put any red card. All the red cards have 4th on it. So you can use any card as a trick, which I'll explain in a little bit, or any card as a prediction. Coming over here, this player thinks they're going to do this. This player thinks they're going to do this. Then, after everyone has, and this was simultaneous, by the way, so the tomato over here didn't have to wait for the lemon to place theirs. They could have all placed at the same time. Then, once everyone has face down, the lime, so then this is going to be like an actual trick. The lime to the left of the person who was leading is now actually going to play into the trick. This is where they now must follow. So this player over here must play a yellow. Again, getting back to what they predicted, they are playing the 1 in yellow. Coming to the lemon over here, they had to follow suit. So maybe they play that 10, and then finally coming to the tomato, they play a 9. So now that everyone has played into the trick and followed suit, everyone is going to reveal what they predicted their card was going to be. So as you can see, the lime played the 1 yellow. They thought they were going to get 4th place. The lemon played the 10 yellow, thought they were going to get 3rd. And then the tomato over here thought they were going to get 1st, even though they played into the trick a lower card than a card that was led, so that wasn't the best prediction. So now you're going to evaluate how everyone did. So this player over here, they got 1st, but they did not bet 1st. So they had a failed prediction. If you fail your prediction, you're going to take the card that you predict with and put it under here. So down underneath your kind of tableau thing here means you failed that prediction. And then if you got it right, like this player over here, who thought this one would be the lowest, they were correct. You're going to put it up above. So usually there's actually a little bit more space. We're going to move it down. And so they got theirs correct. This player over here thought they were going to be 3rd. They were actually 2nd because this player kind of played interestingly. So then they go down there. And then finally this player over here thought they were going to get 1st. They were not right. They would put that down there. And then you're going to give whoever won the trick. So each trick is actually also worth a point. So I haven't gotten to the scoring, but every trick is worth a point. Also, a correct prediction is going to be worth the points above it. So as you can see here, the 3 and the 2 spaces, if you get a correct prediction there, that's worth 3 victory points. But the 1st and 4th get 2 victory points each. The funny thing is that when you win a trick, so you're 1st, you actually get a point as well. So the 1st is kind of like 3 as well. 4th is the only kind of off one. And then the person who won, which was this player, will lead to the next trick. So let's say they did something similar. They played this, and they think they're actually going to win now. They can now short suit themselves in yellow in a cool way because they're placing 2 cards, right, per trick. And so same thing is going to happen. Everyone's going to simultaneously bid what they think is going to happen. I probably shouldn't do that. And then it's going to be must follow clockwise. So this player over here would have to play either their 7 or their 8. And then we can jump to a later example of a trick just to show how the off-suiting works. Jumping to a later trick, this player up here is going to lead with a blue, and while everyone's already guessed, the tomato here was thinking over here, what should they do? Well, they have 1 blue, so they're either going to have to play it and bet what they think is going to happen with that card, or if they want to, they can bet with that card, and now they can play whatever card they want. The nervous thing is, though, that they are betting that the card they'll play will be 2nd, which is a little tricky this early in the round when not many people are off suit, especially if they play like this one here. So now that everyone has bet face down, they're going to play like that. So people know this person is out of blue, but these people aren't, so they're going to follow suit. And then now how this will evaluate is the highest card in ranking, if there's offsuits, is going to win. So when there are different suits, it's like a hierarchical trump. So yellow beats every other suit, then blue beats green and red, and then green beats red. So in this case right here, this player would win, sadly, because they bid second, but maybe they'll at least take the trick. So I feel like this is going to continue for just 7 tricks, because again, you're playing 2 cards per trick. At the very end, you're going to see how players score, so we can jump to scoring now. Here we are at the end of the round. As you can see, this player has more predictions that they got right. So you're going to count for everyone above. You get that many points right there. So this player got 2 correct 4th place predictions. So that is 2 and 4 points. They got 2nd place. So that's 3 more points for 7 total points. And then they also won a trick. So that's 8 total points. Over here, this player won a trick, and then they got a prediction here, so that's 3. Over here, this player didn't predict anything right, but they won 2 tricks, so that's 2 points. And over here, this person predicted 1 4-player, but let's say they didn't win anything. If you don't win any tricks, you actually get a bonus of 3 points. So they got 2 points over here, and then 3 points for not winning a trick. So that's 5 points. Then you're going to just shuffle the cards, redeal. You're going to play 4 rounds at 4 players, and then whoever has the most points at the end wins. And that's how to play Tornei. The deck in BestShot is 6 suits, numbered 1 through 9. But if you're playing 4 players, you're actually going to take out 2 of the suits, so it's just 4 suits, number 1 through 9. Here we have a game of BestShot set up for 4 players. We have Woods versus the Irons, which is great. The Woods are team red, and the Irons are team white. Every team is going to have 3 cubes up here on the drive, chip, putt cards. Then you're going to shuffle the deck and deal it equally at 4 players. Each player is going to get 9 cards. You're going to randomly determine a start player for the first trick, so let's say it's this first wooden spoon up here. BestShot is a must-follow game, but what's interesting is what wins the trick depends on whether we're doing a drive, chip, or putt. So we're going to start off like any hole in golf with a drive. So you want to have the highest card. So this player over here is going to play a 2. So hoping not to win. Maybe they're hoping for their partner to win. It is must follow. So coming over to this player here, they're going to play a 5. Coming to their partner has a 6. So the partner is currently winning it. But if you know anything about the perfect deck makeup, you know this player over here definitely will win it. So maybe they play the 7. So in a BestShot, it's going to be the highest is going to win. As you can see over here, the highest number 9. If there's multiple 9s, it'd be later played 9, so it's just the highest card, and then later played if there's a tie, down to the lowest. Because you are driving, you want to hit it as far as you can. At the end of the trick, you're going to check for 2 things. You're going to see who was the best shot and who was the worst shot. So the best shot is the person depending on the card that it is. So we just did drive, which is the highest number. That's this player over here. They're going to win the trick for their team. They're going to take their cube and put it on the card there. And then the worst shot is actually going to lead to the next trick. So this 2 here is going to lead to the trick. Now moving on to the next trick, the second trick, we're not doing a drive anymore. We're actually going to chip it in. So in this, as you can see here, the chip actually is all about middle numbers. So the 4, 5, 6, and 7 are going to be any high or low. So the 8, 9, or the 1, 2, 3. So this player over here might lead a 4 because it's the highest 4, and if there's multiple, it's later played, but it is must follow. So this player over here maybe plays an 8. This player over here, they're debating on whether they play kind of low because they could use that card maybe for later, right? And so then this player over here is determined. They know that if they play the 1 or the 3, they're going to be able to lead. So they're just going to play the 3. So the Irons are going to win again. They were the best shot. Their cube is going to go on the track. And then the player who put the worst, which is the red over here, is going to lead to the next trick. What's interesting though, every 3 tricks in a game of BestShot is a hole. And it's best 2 out of 3. So the Woods, or no, rather the Irons, the white cube team over here, actually they have already won this hole. So this trick doesn't quite matter. It's actually more important for who's going to lead at the start of the next hole. So maybe this player right here plays a 7 and it is must follow. So we'll just hurry and do that. The interesting thing about this last hole, the putt, is that it's the lowest that is going to win. But again, since this one doesn't quite matter, all that matters is the worst shot. So the worst shot here is this player here. So they would have put a token on there, but since they already won it, it doesn't quite matter. So they are winning 1 hole to 0 holes. And the players now are going to go to the next hole, which is the next series of 3 tricks, and it's going to be led by the worst shot of the previous hole, which was this player here. So now we're back on driving, and the high card matters. So maybe this player plays a 9. And so flow like this is going to continue. Let's say later on they won. Then the red team finally won a trick, and then whoever wins this one will then win that hole. So then, let's say it was the white cube team again. They are now 2 holes up, and it's actually first to 5 holes wins the game. If you run out of cards, because as you can tell, you're dealt 9, so that's only enough to play 3 holes. If you run out of cards before you determine a winner, you're going to collect all the cards that were played, shuffle, and redeal, and then keep playing until someone wins. And that's how to play Best Shot. So that is Best Shot and Tornei. First, before I go into Best Shot, I want to say again, huge grain of salt. I was sent this copy from Little Dog, the publisher, and I am pals with both the publisher, Daniel, and the designer, Daniel Kennel. So take everything I say with a huge grain of salt, but here we are on the green to talk about this little bad boy. So I think what is always so fun is to see how sports can be implemented in games and how you abstract something into like a card game, a game within a game, if you will. And I think Daniel did a great job. There's something that I've noticed in his work in all the games that I play of his, where he always loves giving players the tools to make cards be useful in specific situations. So we've covered Nutty Gnomes, where the cards themselves can change strength. The cards can, be trump sometimes, or sometimes low means high, or like whatever that is in a certain games. And nothing is more apparent, and I think that's kind of like the main hook of Best Shot. So that twist of drive, then chip, then putt means high cards are strong, then middle cards specifically, and then low cards are strong. And I think it does it well. It's cool that it has those 3 trick patterns, so that even though you may have missed out on the first trick, the 4th trick is still coming up. So do you kind of, not blow your wad, but do you try to play like a 9 or an 8 early, or do you save it for like the later tricks? Especially because once you lose with a 9 on a high trick, it loses a little bit of its strength until the 3rd trick, where maybe you want to just wrestle the lead. Sometimes the lead isn't important, like if you've lost twice in a row, that 3rd trick is kind of just like, whatever. So there's some interesting balancing with the tricks. Sometimes there's cards that won't ever be good in your hand, kind of. So like, for example, in putting, low cards are strong, driving, high cards are strong, and then in the middle and chipping, it's like very specific cards are good. So like 4s, 5s, and 6s are okay, but like 7s, not that good. And 7s are kind of never that good. And that's one thing with the game which is interesting, is I think the intention was to make it so the card still was good no matter what, but there are still some cards that are just like not the best. Like 7s are just kind of like, they're the 3rd strongest one high. They're not very even good to try to win for the next trick because they're 7s. And they're not that good when the chipping. So like, it's interesting that in a game still with valuing different rank values at any given point, there's still some bad cards, which is interesting. So I do think it does it well, though, that 4s or 5s are usually good, 9s or 8s are usually good, and then 1s or 2s are usually good. You just have that weird thing where it's like 3s, 6s, and 7s are kind of like this weird middle ground. But I think the conceit is cool. It implements it well. I think my only thing is there's some level of, you have to be okay with changing your mindset every single trick. That's a huge thing, because the hierarchy changes every single trick, right? So it goes from high in one trick to middle to low, then back to high, then middle to low. And in addition to each trick changing, you have to pick the winner, because they're going to place a token for their cube for their team, but also a loser, because they're going to lead the next trick. So you have to evaluate 2 different things. And I mean, it's not rocket science, but you are doing this every trick, and you're also changing your mentality every trick. And then on top of that, high makes sense, low makes sense, but the middle is a tricky situation. And this came up when we were working on Chai Tea Jazz, our game that's essentially Kofur Yas, kind of re-implemented with a few new twists. But there is a contract in that game where it's called mezzo, where like you value, instead of low or high, the middle cards. And it's really hard to
think about what a middle card is, right? So in this game, it says 4, 5, 6 or strong, and then 7 and 8 and 9, then you do comma 1, 2, 3. And it's interesting on how you break that out, right? So let's say middle is the strongest, that's 4.5. So if you go in 4 and 5, technically the next thing is like 3 and 6, right? But what they do here is it goes 6, 7, 8, 9, then 1, 2, 3. And so even though 3 is closer to the middle than 1 or 2, it's actually weaker. So it's kind of like an interesting mental thing that I think tripped some players up, where they thought 3 was stronger than it was on that very specific thing. So just be aware that there is some mental gymnastics that you might have to jump through. Also, my other thing is, not that it doesn't matter, but since it's best of 3, best of 3, best of 3 as you like play through the hand, I think the early best of 3s are a little bit more interesting in a way, because the third one, even if you've lost 2 in a row and like can't win that hole, can kind of set you up for the next hole. In the end, you could just have like a dead trick, which is fine, but also you could have, there's like a funny thing where like early holes are a little bit more interesting because you can set yourself up for the next hole, but it is more like must follow. So like when someone leads a 9, it's very, very likely they're going to win, or a 4, or like a 1, just because there's so many cards of a suit. Players aren't short-suited that often at the start, so then it becomes like a little bit of, because there's no cards that are cut, so then it becomes a little bit obvious sometimes the early holes how they might play out, and it's more interesting in the later holes. But then sometimes you just get like those, some players will win like that 1-2 punch of like drive chip, and so like the putt doesn't quite matter. So it's an interesting game. I think there's a lot of clever things that can be done in it, a lot of cool things, but like there's just a little bit of rough, pardon my golf pun, that can get in the way. And also, I've come to find that, I think this just exemplifies it a lot, is when I play partnership games, I almost want to be able to feel the play style of my partner more nowadays. So like in spades, for example, if I'm playing with a really aggressive partner, they're going to overbid, so maybe I should underbid to catch their bags, right? Or maybe I should null bid to kind of play off that. Or in Tichu, like if I know I have an aggressive partner, maybe I'm passing them the stronger card or something like that. And in those partnership games where I like can care and know about my partner, I think those are a little bit more interesting to me. Whereas in this one, like there's no passing, so I don't have too much interaction with my partner besides hoping that they play something. I do like in this game where there's a communication of, there's 2 good things in the trick. There's winning the trick and then losing the trick. Kind of like Aurum, where you have that back and forth. And so when your partner plays like a really low card when it's supposed to be high wins, you're like, okay, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to lose, so maybe you're setting me up to be the winner. But I wish there was passing, maybe to be able to pass my player who I want to be high in a certain suit, the highest of mine, so that I can do a little signaling maybe sometimes that maybe that's what I'm going for. But I digress. I think overall it is a really cool system that uses the high, mid, low very, very well. So really, really slick. Love the theme. Graphics are great. So another wonderful addition by Daniel. I just, again, wish it had maybe a little bit more team interaction, and also there's just something there that is a little, I don't know how you would break out of it, but it's a little like a lot of evaluating, a little rough mentally, but it does get easier as you play. So I think overall it gets smoother. It's just, that's something to be aware of, is you are evaluating a good amount. That was Best Shot. So now Tornei. This one is fascinating because it was pretty highly built up from that TGM cycle, and I think I understand the hype. I think it is a great time. There's a lot of really fun hand manipulation that you can do. It's cool that you're only playing 7 tricks, but in reality you're playing 2 cards each, so every trick feels meatier, feels bigger because you're kind of bidding or predicting every single trick. Some of the predictions are easy and you know them, and it's a little bit of debating on how you just handle that. So like, for example, if you have the 1 in red, you can guarantee pretty much that's free 2 points if you have another red card, things like that. So I think what's the most fun about this game is messing with that meta. Like when someone, especially at the start, leads a 13 yellow, did they play a 1, like a first prediction bid, or did they play a second prediction bid thinking the person with the 14 yellow is gonna do that as like easy points? And there's like some really interesting like easy points that you can kind of eke out of the very start of the hand when things are more predictable and people are more in suit. But later on, then it gets very, very tricky, and you get a lot of like, I don't know whether to call it Schadenfreude because like the theme and the kind of production kind of evokes that trick-taking game as well, Schadenfreude. But you get that sense of like players kind of just being one-off and like messing over each other and getting in their own way a lot. I like the fact that you can kind of like discard a card or short suit and then have a little bit more flexibility. I think the only issue I have with the game is, even though you do have like a good flexibility of the hand, there are times when you just get dealt some tough hands. Like if you don't get dealt a lot of a certain suit, you can just not predict that suit. It's really brutal. Like if you don't get any red or yellow or like, I don't know, because like the blue and the green are in the middle, like second and third, and so that's the gray area. But if you don't get any of a certain suit, you're just like, I can't predict this suit. It feels interesting because the game is essentially like, here's 7 trick-taking cards, here's 7 bidding cards, and they can be whatever they want. They're multi-use. So it feels like you're like, oh wow, I have all these options, I have all these choices. So there couldn't be a bad hand maybe. But when you're not dealt a certain suit to bid with, you are wildly kind of pigeonholed sometimes. So I've just had hands where I get high cards but no yellow, and it's like, oh man, okay, I can't ever get a first place, you know? So I think it's an interesting game. I think it's really cool. The concept is really slick, and I think they've implemented it well. I do think it's funny that first place is like 3 points, and second and third place are kind of like 3 points. And then fourth place is only 2 points. I get the idea though, because it's like fourth is easy, and you might kind of do that shoot the moon where you take no tricks and get 3 points. But it does seem a little wonky that first place is effectively the same as second and third, because if you predict it right, you're getting a trick. But anyway, I digress. I think there's some cool mental things you can get into with players where, like, if they lead with a 6 or a 9 or 10, like what position do they want, and try to read off that. That's really fun. I think the artwork is cool. Production and graphic design is slick. But yeah, like, so I totally get the hype. I definitely do. I think I went into it with that concept of so much multi-use and so much flexibility that I thought was in the hand, and it was just interesting to be a little like, oh, okay, actually, like, you can get kind of pigeonholed. But still, I think it is really cool, really fun, great concept, done very well. So that is Tornei. Good stuff. And Best Shot. So thank you so much. I guess the theme was cards that can be good at certain times, multi-use in a way, if I think about it that way. But thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the field, on the green. Okay, bye!